No comments.
Oh, jeez. Yes. Whoa, he just smoked it.
Yes.
Absolutely smoked it. Oh, my
Thank you,
goodness.
basketball gods. Thank you, Harrison Barnes. 2016 wasn't enough. He said, take this win too, Cavs.
You're going to take another win, and you're going to like it.
Oh, my God. Thank the basketball gods for Harrison Barnes. He has been the most effective sleeper agent in the NBA for like a decade now.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Let's get ready to
rumble! So the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know what? This game, I have to be honest with you, even though it was decided on a missed layup by Harrison Barnes, who, by the way, I just tweeted this, only LeBron James has brought more winning to Cleveland than Harrison Barnes, because this man handed us a championship in 2016. And then tonight he said, you know what, Cavs, you're the real winners tonight. You played 45 minutes of really good basketball. And I know you almost threw it away in the final 3 minutes, but I'm going to make sure that this game is, not as heartbreaking as it could have been, because, oh my God, I can't believe this was a 1-point game. The Cavs were literally basically wire to wire up by 10 points at least in this game, double-digit lead for the majority of it. And then out of nowhere, we're looking at the play-by-play right now just to try and get a sense of what the hell happened. And as we did it, we noticed Cavs 107 at the 550 mark. They finished the game with 114. So quick math, they only scored 7 points in about 6 minutes. Darius Garland had all 7 of those points. It's crazy. This team almost blew it. Jackson, you had a good take on what you think basically happened down the stretch here. So I'll pivot to you because you were the one watching it. I was starting to write the takeaways for Fear of the Sword, and I almost had to trash the entire article. But what just happened here with the Cavs? How did they almost blow this one?
First off, I just want to say masterful job by Harrison Barnes, because if you're a tanking team, what you want to do is you want to prove that, hey, I could have won, but I just didn't. And Harrison Barnes said, I'm going to shake DeAndre Hunter, going to leave him in the dust. I'm going to make them send some help defense with Max Strus that I could finish over. I'm going to get the cleanest look possible. And then I'm just going to miss, because it's better for the Spurs, for my team, if I just miss this. So masterful job by Harrison Barnes there. Want to congratulate him on this. That's like, he's like Danny Ainge wishes that he could do this level of tanking. Like this is what he wants.
You gave the fans a really fun game. You fought back against the number 1 team, and you still get a good, draft position here because you just smoked it at the end.
Like, and the Cavs know that they lost that one. Like, the Cavs know they lost that one. The Spurs are in the locker room like, yeah, we won that one, guys. I am just kidding. The Spurs are probably not in the locker room thinking that way. Actually, they're definitely not in the locker room thinking that way, but the Cavs probably are. But yeah, what you were saying is the Cavs went through, I would say, like, they got up 10. They asserted their dominance really throughout this whole game. And then specifically in the second half, we look there, they only scored 47 points in the second half, which is not ideal. They just they were like seniors trying to get through the last couple days. Like,
I was going to say that. I was going to make the same metaphor.
They're just seeing if we can use like the least amount of effort as possible. We know that, the grades are going to be the grades. No one's going to remember this last week. No one's learning anything this last week of school. Let's just get through.
The extended response on the final just took them for a loop. They didn't see Harrison Barnes hitting back-to-back threes. Chris Paul hit a 3. They hit 3 straight threes in the last minute there to give the Cavs a scare. But thankfully, we held on. Our GPA is still good enough. We're still getting into college. It's not
already got accepted.
Completely tank it. Yeah, we already got accepted.
What are they going to do? Kick you out now?
The game was over. Yeah. But man, they gave us a scare, and it completely changed the way that we're going to talk about this one, or at least this would have been a pretty quick, uneventful pod, because nothing really happened outside of the opening minutes where Evan Mobley just went absurd against the Spurs. I mean, 3 straight threes to open the game. Then he takes a little bit of a break, goes into the paint, gets a couple buckets, and then he says, you know what, I got one more 3 for you. And he hits his 4th 3 in the first quarter for, I think, 18 points in the opening quarter. He was awesome. And it's the type of stuff that, we years ago, if we saw Evan Mobley even take 4 threes in a game, we would just about faint. He just knocked down 4 threes like it was nothing to start this game. And that would have been basically the only interesting takeaway, other than, we'll talk about DeAndre Hunter in a little bit, but we almost, they almost completely changed the narrative. So thankfully we get to still enjoy that Evan Mobley performance, because he was crazy in the first quarter.
Yeah, he was hitting threes, and then he did the LeBron Deluxe album. Here's 2 more for you. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. But yeah, it was Evan Mobley was great. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I feel like he got iced out of the second half. Like the Cavs really didn't do a good job of giving him the ball, setting him up, and really letting him cook. There was a couple passes like Donovan Mitchell just rifled one out of bounds when Evan Mobley was wide open underneath. There were some situations where the Cavs just kind of messed up feeding it to him, but it just wasn't like, for how good he was at the start, you would like to see them continue to feature him, especially on a day that Jarrett Allen missed the whole second half. Would it be good to just keep featuring him?
Yeah, we should mention that just real quick. Jarrett Allen did miss the entire second half. He's not injured. It actually basically, so Jarrett Allen has played every single game this season. Seems like it's his goal to play all 82. This was the Cavs' way of saying, like, all right, he played the first half. He's going to sit out the second. It still counts. He played the game. He's resting without actually resting. And to the Cavs, in their defense, I mean, they were up by like 15. This game looked like it was over at halftime. So they probably thought they didn't need him until the Evan Mobley thing too. Off the top of my head, if I'm remembering correctly, he was 7 for 7 to start the game in the first quarter. He finished 10 of 13. So that means he took 7 shots in the first quarter, made all of them, and then didn't take 7 shots the rest of the game. I think he had 8 at halftime, and he only took 5 more. That really can't happen. He played 37 minutes. He was out there on the floor. He was there. So I don't know what, like, I'd have to go back and watch the film again. These are like live post-game reactions, but man, when Evan Mobley has it going like that, he finished with 25 points. This could have been a 40-point game for Evan Mobley. And so that's a little bit disappointing. Still, I think the main focus is like, man, Evan Mobley was so awesome tonight, but think of how much better he could have been if he kept getting the ball. And on top of that, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, 1 steal. This was a hell of a game from Evan Mobley that thankfully we get to still enjoy. We, again, I say it all over again. We just almost had it completely fall apart, but this was an awesome game from Evan Mobley on one of the better, more dominant and aggressive approaches we've seen from him that just kind of disappeared in the second half.
Yeah, and it's part of that does go, like, I think it's very easy to point the blame at, like, well, the guards need to do a better job of getting Mobley involved, and that is true, but there is a certain part of it where if you have it going, you need to demand the ball, especially if you are someone who is as good as Evan Mobley is. Everyone talks about Evan Mobley, like all the Cavaliers talk about Evan Mobley being like the best player on the team or one of the very best players on the team. Like, you have to go out like the best, like, we were watching last night, the Lakers and Warriors. The best players on that team were getting the ball down the stretch. They were making sure that the game was going to be decided by them. Evan Mobley wasn't making sure that he was going to decide the game. He wasn't an active participant in the offense, and that does come back to him to some degree. So I think it's important to bring that up as well, as like it's a two-way street here. Evan needs to do a better job of putting himself in position to get the ball and being more forceful about demanding the ball, because he had it going tonight. The Spurs were out Wemby, were out Sohan. We were stuck with Bismack Biyombo as the center. They were trying to go small. Like, this was just a matchup that Evan Mobley was feasting in. So, both sides need to do a better job of just getting him the ball and like calling for it, because in a game against like, I don't think there's too much to take away from this game going forward. But if this was a game against Boston, you need Evan Mobley to be forceful when he's getting those mismatches and stuff. He needs to be aggressively looking for those mismatches and also like exploiting them and demanding the ball. And like, we didn't see that tonight. And that's a little disappointing considering how well he started.
Yeah, this matchup definitely called for him to just go crazy every time he gets the ball. And again, like first half, he did it. I think one thing that kind of surprises me almost too is like second half, especially once the game got close too. I totally understand. Like, I'll use the Kings game as an example where Mobley was going crazy and Mitchell kind of took over the offense at the end. Like, when you're losing a game, they were trailing in that game. It's kind of hurry up offense. You need the guards to create something and create it quick. We don't have time to set up Evan Mobley at the elbow or whatever. So in that scenario against Sacramento, I was like, oh yeah, let Donovan Mitchell, let Darius Garland cook. Here, you had the lead. You're running down the clock. I wish we could have got more Evan Mobley, but yeah, I think we said basically everything on Mobley there. I want to hurry up and get towards the end of this pod so that we can get the grades and everything done. But two more things to focus on. One, very, very quickly, Donovan Mitchell. I genuinely thought, other than the last 5 minutes of the game, this was a pretty good game from him. 26 points, 7 assists, throwing all sorts of crazy passes. Some of them turned into turnovers. Others were really impressive, like that cross-court pass he had to Max Strus. 6 of 11 from 3. I think he missed his last 2. I don't know off the top of my head, but he was shooting really well from 3. He was hitting the side step threes. Like, this was a very good game from Donovan Mitchell until it wasn't. Overall, still a net positive, but just wanted to shout that out. And then the last thing is DeAndre Hunter. 18 points off the bench. Shooting wasn't as efficient as it felt, 7 of 16, but 4 of 8 from 3. Basically automatic on the catch and shoot. I thought that his 3-level scoring was on display tonight. You really just saw how, this is a type of offensive weapon that the Cavs just didn't have on their bench, which some people might say it should be in their starting lineup, but it's on their bench right now for the time being. The fact that he can knock down threes, attack a closeout, score from the mid-range, get to the rim, that's really awesome. And the dude had 7 rebounds tonight. So if he can attack the defensive glass a little bit better, I still don't think it was like great tonight. I wasn't looking at him like, Andre Drummond or Josh Hart, or that's crazy two comparisons to make, but you get the point that I'm trying to get at. Like, I didn't look at him like, wow, Andre Drummond, or DeAndre Hunter is killing it on the glass tonight. But you look at the box score and he got 7 of them, which, we'll give credit where it's due, because he just, he's had a lot of games where there's just zeros across the board.
Yeah, I mean, he did get a couple contested rebounds, which is good. But I do also want to acknowledge that some of that, there was some bad defense there. Specifically, he was a party to the Harrison Barnes smoked hook shot. Like, he was a big reason why that happened. So, and it wasn't great defense. I think this was a tough game for people who, like myself, believe that like the Cavs' best lineup includes him at the 4 or like closing lineup in a lot of games, because he just wasn't really like a deterrent in any way on the defensive end. So, we know how good of an offensive player he is. He continues to show that he's an amazing offensive player, but none of the Cavs were locked in. So maybe it's bad to single out DeAndre Hunter, or it's unfair to single out just DeAndre Hunter. But you would like to see more effort, more focus on the defensive end, specifically when he's off ball and trying to navigate screens. That's where he's continually at his worst.
For sure. That's something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. And once the playoffs begin, it's going to be a magnifying glass. We're really going to be hammering in on those details because it's going to make the difference. But yeah, overall tonight, look, the Cavs, they were up by double digits most of this game. Kind of just trying to close the fourth quarter by doing as little as possible. And it almost burned them, but thankfully they managed to escape without a full catastrophe. That's going to do it for this episode of the Junkyard Pod. Thank you to everyone for watching on YouTube. Thank you to the Playback chat for showing up and watching the game live with us. Make sure you go to fearthesword.com for all of our post-game writing and breakdowns. And that's all I have to say. We'll see you on Sunday for, who are they playing? Cavs?
Kings.
Cavs Kings. We'll see you on Sunday. Make sure you're here for it. And until then, go Cavs.
I agree. Go Cavs.